Great, Lindsay. We're talking about music today on the IELTS
Yes.
exam, and I'm curious, do you listen to music often?
Wow. So in the car, I definitely do. I like to listen to the radio in the car. I kind of like radio. It makes sense
Oh, and you
because
just
we're
listen to whatever song
podcasters.
is on?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't mind. I sort of like the
That's very
commentary
old school. It's
sometimes
very
too, like the
90s
DJs.
of you.
I know it is very 90s, but I don't really do the Spotify thing all that much. I would rather listen to a podcast most of the time, actually. What about you?
I also listen to podcasts more, but in the car. And it's been interesting as my kids get older and have their own musical tastes. I rarely have control over what music we're listening
Oh,
to because they
geez.
care so much more. I'll put on a song and they're like, no, they change it and put on the music they like. So I'm mostly listening to the music my kids like these days.
Oh, I see. I see. That's interesting. Yeah, that's definitely like some parents just insist on their own music, right? Even from a young age.
Yeah.
Like my partner's parents were always just playing like, I don't know, Def Leppard or something really
What they wanted to hear.
heavy rock and heavy metal, which when she was like 3. And so there was a lot of learning that happened from a young age, I think.
At least my kids usually, the music they like, I like too. But I'm excited for all of the vocab that you listeners are going to get today because you could definitely be asked about music on any
Yes.
part of the IELTS speaking exam. You need to be ready with high scoring vocabulary and ideas.
And this should be a low-hanging fruit topic, right? If this comes up, you should say, yes, thank goodness I got this topic, right? We should all have something to say about music, okay?
Yeah, most likely you do have ideas. You are passionate about music. You know the musicians, the bands you like, but could you use band 9 vocabulary to describe it? Can
Good
you
question.
talk, like you've definitely had these conversations in your first language. Have you talked about it a lot in English, right? So you
Yep.
need to practice answering these in a high scoring way.
Exactly. So we need to go that extra step and actually prepare with these questions. So part 1 questions, Aubrey, what are we likely to get here?
Yeah, you might be asked, what kind of music do you enjoy? Do you listen to music while studying or working or driving? How has your taste in music changed? So a lot of personal questions about the music you or the people that you know like.
Personal questions. That's the key for part 1. In part 2, you might be asked to describe a song you like. Describe a song. That's interesting. Or you might be asked to describe a concert you attended. So we're telling stories in part 2. Right?
Exactly, right? It always starts with describe, but it could be anything about music, right? Describe a band, describe the music you liked as a child, right? And then you have to speak about that for 2 minutes. And also in part 3, because music is also does affect societies, right? You might be asked what kind of music is popular in your country, or do you think music is important in daily life? Has the music, you know, what music is important for your culture? These types of
Yep.
questions could come up in part 3.
It's the societal questions, right, Aubrey, where we think about society on a whole, a macro level, I guess.
Yeah,
Analysis,
exactly.
kind of. Yeah.
Right. So
Okay,
we're
so
going to
then-
do 2 buckets of vocabulary today. First of all, adjectives to actually describe music and your taste in music. And then verbs, interesting verbs that you can use in these answers.
All right. So for adjectives, I love the word mellow or upbeat. These are a little bit different, right?
Yeah, they're opposites.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
opposites.
So, for example, you might say, I usually listen to mellow music in the evening, but I prefer something upbeat in the morning, right? So mellow is like chill, slower, classical music, quieter music. And then upbeat might be like pop or rock.
Yes, exactly. Cathartic is the next one. Listening to music can be quite cathartic for me after a stressful day. So you
Yeah, this means
release
like a
your
way to
emotions.
release emotion, release stress. And this is true for many of us. If we're listening to music, it often feels very cathartic. This is a band 9 word. You
Totally.
want to, and you could use it on so many different topics. It doesn't have to be about music. Anything can be cathartic if it's something that allows you to release stress.
Yes, really good one. You can guarantee the other candidates are not using that word. So that's why you're going to get a band 9 for that particular word.
Yes.
Eclectic taste. A lot of people say they have eclectic taste. I have very eclectic taste in music. So what I listen to totally depends on my mood, meaning varied, right?
Exactly. But so like varied is the band 5, band 6 version. Eclectic is much higher scoring. This just means you like lots of
Yes.
different kind of music. And you could say this about movies. I have eclectic taste in movies, in authors, books, right? You could use
TV
this for a
shows,
lot of
yeah.
different questions. It's very high scoring.
All right. So now moving on to verbs, Aubrey. So what do we want to say here for some really, really standout band 9 verbs for the
Yeah.
test?
So first is to talk about how your tastes evolve. There's a good chance you'll be asked to compare music tastes in the past and in the present. So to use this verb evolved over time. For example, my taste in music has evolved over time, especially as I've gotten older. And then you would share more details about what you used to listen to, what you listen to now.
Yes, love it. Or gravitate towards. I tend to gravitate toward instrumental music when I'm trying to focus. So maybe it doesn't mean you intentionally say, I have to listen to instrumental right now because I want to focus. It means you tend to choose. Right?
Exactly. Or I like. This is so much high. If you ever find yourself about to say, I like blank, there are so many higher scoring ways to say that. And this is one of them. I gravitate toward this means the same as I like this. I choose this
use
often.
average vocabulary on IELTS, please.
And another, this is a synonym for that, is to have a soft spot for something. Also just means you like it. So I have a soft spot for 90s pop songs because they remind me of my childhood. So both of those are much higher scoring ways of saying that you like something.
Yeah, you have a special affection for something, right?
Exactly.
Or went through a phase. So when I was younger, I went through a punk music phase, for example.
Yeah,
right?
this is true for me. When I was in college, I went through a punk phase. All these
You did?
punk bands, yes.
Really?
Fugazi, and I remember Me First and the Gimme Gimmes was one of my favorite punk bands. They do covers of older songs. So it would be like Elton John and Barry Manilow, but like the punk version. I loved it.
Very cool. Did you go to punk concerts too when you were a teenager, or was it just like
Yes.
listening to the music? Yeah.
Yes, I went to a lot of punk concerts. Dropkick Murphys was the best punk concert I ever went to. They were a band out of Boston. I loved them. But I went to a bunch of punk, but I could never, there was always like a mosh pit where all the guys were like, and I was in the back, like, don't hurt me.
Yeah. Maybe
I'm
stay
just
away
here for the
from that.
music.
Just here for the music. Don't want to break any arms or anything in there.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So we're going to do some sample answers for part 1 questions. Right, Aubrey?
Yes. Do you want to ask me one first, Lindsay?
Yeah. Here we go. So what kind of music do you enjoy?
I have fairly eclectic taste in music. Most of the time, I enjoy mellow bands with meaningful lyrics, especially when I want to unwind, like Mumford and Sons, the Avett Brothers. But that being said, if I'm in a good mood, I'll put on something more upbeat, like Weezer, I really love. And then when I go dancing, I definitely prefer hip hop.
Nice. I like how you added those examples to be more specific in your answer. I heard that you use the phrase eclectic taste, really a winner there, right?
Yes,
you also said
definitely.
I enjoy mellow bands, right? More relaxed, quieter. And then you also use the word upbeat. And if I'm in a good mood, I want to put on upbeat music, right?
Yes, exactly right. So this is tricky because like you said, Lindsay, everyone can talk about the music they like. You definitely could do that, but would you use high scoring vocabulary? So you want to practice these answers with some of this topic specific high scoring vocab. All right, Lindsay, are you ready to answer a question for us?
Yes, let's do
All right.
it. Here we go.
How has your taste in music changed?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's definitely evolved over time. When I was younger, I went through a phase of listening to only pop music, like Backstreet Boys, for example. But now I gravitate toward more relaxed and meaningful songs like the Lumineers. I think I've broadened my horizons and I've become more open to different genres.
Ooh, excellent answer. I love that you use that verb evolve. It's evolved over time. And also the verb gravitate toward. Now I gravitate toward relaxed music like the Lumineers. And I love that both of us were able to name some specific bands. So everyone out there listening, whatever band you love listening to, and you can, if it is a band that is from your home country, you can say the name of that band with the accent of your first language. That's no problem. You don't have to like change it to an American accent. If it is a German band or a French band, right? You would still just say that a name of something in the accent because it will probably feel very foreign and strange to you to change that to an American or a British accent, so don't worry about it. Your score is not pulled down if you say names of things in the accent of that thing. Does that make sense?
And what about the language of the thing, I guess is my question. So if I don't know, you have, you know what I mean? Like the word boys, if that was in French.
Well, so because Backstreet Boys is an American band, you'd want to say it Backstreet Boys. But a good example is like Edith Piaf, right? A French artist, or someone who, when you say that, you're saying it with that accent, right? Edith Piaf. You would still just say their name in the accent of that language. Does that make sense? Or Rammstein, right, is like a German band. You wouldn't try to change that, and maybe you'd say like Rammstein or something. Even Americans would just say Rammstein when it's a band from Germany or from another country. Even we say it in the accent that band would say it.
Okay, so if it's kind of a proper noun, it's like a trademarked name. We need to stick with that name in the language and the accent.
Yeah, and your score also won't go down if you say it in an American accent, for example. It's not a big deal. But I've had students ask this before, like Monet. You know, are they're like, how do you pronounce Monet in English? And I'm like, Monet, right? This is a French artist. We also say Monet. We're trying to, or you know, we're trying to say it the way they would say it. So you don't need to worry about it. You can also say it the way that artist would say their name.
Yeah, please don't try to say Monet in an American accent. That sounds
Monet.
Like,
would you say Monet? Because
it's with a chalkboard. No, no one will know what you're saying. Please don't do that. All right, good to have that clarity, Aubrey. Thank you for letting us know. What's our takeaway for today?
Yeah, this is really important that you're aware that you may get questions about music. You want to use high-scoring vocabulary to describe your tastes. So practice using these adjectives, these verbs, especially where a lot of this vocabulary won't just be useful for questions about music. It'll be useful for many different topics.
Yeah, really good stuff today. So again, you're lucky if you get this question, if you do listen to music, but we do need to practice with this topic to be fully ready, to fully maximize that luck of getting a music question. Right, Aubrey?
Absolutely. Right. And if you don't have eclectic tastes, that doesn't matter, right? If that vocabulary pops into your head, the examiner doesn't know and doesn't care. They're just going to be excited you're using interesting vocabulary. So you could still use this. I have eclectic taste in music. Depends on my mood, even if all you listen to is classical, for example.
Totally okay. The examiner's not going to go try to figure out if you lied and downgrade your score. No way.
Now we bring out the lie detector test. No.
Guys, hit the follow button right here on IELTS Energy if you love our show. All right. Good stuff. Okay, Aubrey, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Yes. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.